The Asus ProArt X670E-Creator Wi-Fi is my new mainboard, and today we're gonna unbox this little baby and preview and review it. As you can see, I upgraded to the new AMD Ryzen 7000 series, in particular the 7950X CPU, the fastest gaming CPU, the best CPU, the best AMD processor for gaming, YouTube and streaming today. So I also needed a new mainboard, new motherboard, because the AMD 7000 series needs a new mainboard. They need the AM5 mainboards, and I was looking up which mainboard and which motherboard would be the best for me, and I came up with the ProArt X670E. Why? Well, what I need most is I need fast Ethernet, fast internet connection on my mainboard, and the ProArt X670E is the cheapest mainboard, the cheapest available mainboard with 10G Ethernet or 10G, 10 gigabyte per second network card integrated on the mainboard. So in other words, on board. I got the mainboard in the first week after the AMD Ryzen 7000 series came out, and well, the price in Europe was about 620 to 650 euro, and in US you could get it from $500 US. You already saw the packaging, the front, back, the sides and so on. Back we have seen a lot of connectivity, so let's start with the unboxing. I had some issue with opening this little box where you find the Wi-Fi module. So there's a Wi-Fi antenna in the box which you can use to connect to the back side, the back plate of the mainboard, to improve your Wi-Fi performance, or actually to enable Wi-Fi at all. If you wonder why the hell I have no clue about Wi-Fi, well, the issue is you should never use Wi-Fi for gaming, or even if you want to use your PC productively, because you always have lower bandwidth, you have higher pings, you have higher latency whenever you use wireless. So when you want to use a PC or even a console for gaming, always connect it by cable to your switch, to your router, and this will ensure you will always have the highest speed, the best pings, the best latency. Okay, so before we start with the actual mainboard, with the PCB or whatever, we're going to check what's also in the box. So you see on top you have the actual board, but behind it we have all the accessories, we have the manuals and so on. So the first accessory we find is a DisplayPort to DisplayPort cable, and you might wonder, what do you need that for? Well, the mainboard has a DisplayPort in, and this is connected to the Thunderbolt 4, which the mainboard also has. It's called USB 4 now, but it's basically Thunderbolt 4. You can just connect your graphics card to the DisplayPort in of the mainboard, and then you can connect displays, monitors via USB on the Thunderbolt 4 port to use USB cables to connect your monitors. What we just saw was the Asus Q connector, which is a pretty handy tool. It's a little bar which you use to connect the LED, hard disk LED, power on, reset switch, not directly to the mainboard, but first to this little bar thingy, and then you connect this bar thingy to the pins on your mainboard, which helps you actually with not damaging the pins on your mainboard by accident. You saw we have 4 SATA cables which you can use to connect SATA SSDs or hard disk drives, and then we have some screws and rubber packages for M2 SSDs. If you're wondering what I am just holding in my hands, well, I also had to look up in the menu what this is supposed to be. It's a ruler. So they literally put a ruler into the box as an accessory which you can use as a ruler to underline stuff in books or whatever. Looks pretty cool, but yeah, it's a ruler. Okay, pretty cool. Unusual accessory in coming with a mainboard. Okay, so I also looked under the inlay in the box, and I found more of these thingies for the SSDs. So now let's have a look at the paper stuff which is in the box. So we have a user guide, which is actually a very important part of the mainboard bundle, because there you find all the information you need to install the CPU, to connect your power supply unit, to install RAM, the memory, how to connect your SSDs, your hard disk drives, and also, which is very important with the new mainboards, what will deactivate when you use port X, Y, Z. With basically all X670 mainboards, you will have the issue that whenever you use all M2 slots, all SSD slots, or all the PCI Express slots, something will deactivate. Usually it's going to be some USB port. However, all this information you will find in these manuals which come with your mainboard. Then we have a quick start guide and safety instructions. You also get a voucher for free cloud storage, and eventually you'll find your license for the Asus Control Center Express. Okay, so now we're coming to the part for which everybody was waiting. So please give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, turn notifications on. We're actually unpacking the mainboard. Here it is. This is a PCB, this is the mainboard, this is a top side, and this is a button. I was surprised it doesn't have a full back plate. However, these X670 mainboards are pretty thick due to PCI Express 5.0. They need more layers on the PCB, so the new AM5 mainboards on average or in general are gonna be more robust, more thicker than older AMD mainboards. The Asus X670E ProArt has 3 PCI Express slots and 4 M2 slots for SSDs. And the best part, and this is also one of the reasons why I went for the Asus ProArt and not for other mainboards, for instance from AMSI or Gigabyte, is how the sharing of PCI Express lanes work. So for all consumer mainboards, it's the same, that you can only use the specific number of SSDs and PCI Express slots and USB ports at the same time. Whenever you connect too much stuff, something will deactivate or downgrade. So with the Asus mainboard, when you use the third M2 slot, then you will only see a little downgrade of the first PCI Express slot. Remember, it's PCI Express 5.0. It has double the bandwidth compared to PCI Express 4.0, and it's going to go down from X16 to X8, which is still going to be enough for even for the next generation of graphics cards. I also checked the Gigabyte and MSI boards, how they work, regarding these PCI Express lane problem, and with them you always lose a whole PCI Express slot or M2 slot, which was not tolerable for me. So you just saw the backplate with a lot of USB connectors and USB-C connectors. 2 of the USB-C are USB 4.0 or Thunderbolt 4. I already mentioned the 10G Ethernet. However, we have 2 Ethernet ports. We also have a 2.5G Ethernet port, so we have also a lot of networking connectivity on this mainboard. If you're wondering what this button 5 centimeters above the SATA ports is, it is a Q release button which helps you release your graphics card. When it's built in, you just press this button and the graphics card is going to come out of the PCI Express slot. What is really neat is the heatsink on the MOSFETs of the mainboard. So even with the entry high-end mainboards for the AMD Ryzen 7000 series, you're going to have enough cooling power for the strongest CPU, the AMD Ryzen 9 7950X. I really like the layout of the mainboard, all the ports, all the connectors which you use to connect your mainboard to the power supply unit or to your drives on the edge of the mainboard. Also the connectors for fans and so on are on the edge. So putting this mainboard into your PC tower and connecting all the cables should be relatively easy. So when I recorded the unboxing, I actually wanted to show you, all this different stuff, but to, sum it up, it is like this. On the top left, you have the 2 12-volt connectors for your power supply unit. On the top right, you have 3 headers for CPU fans, one actually CPU fan, one optional, and one for the AOI, for the all-in-one water cooling solution you probably have. And we also have the LEDs on the top right. Also on the right, we have the main connectors for the PSU, for the power supply unit, and we have one USB 3.2 Gen 2 Type C front panel connector and one USB 3.2 Gen 1 header. 2 of the SATA connectors are all on the right, and if you're wondering where the other 2s are, they're on the bottom next to the battery. What I'm showing now is the location of the 4 M2 SSD slots. So one is above of the PCI Express slot for the graphics card. One is in the middle between the second and third PCI Express slot, and the other 2 M2 slots are right of the second and third PCI Express slot. So eventually I caught up with my own videos. So on the bottom right, we have the panel connector where you connect the thingies from the tower for LEDs and for starting the PC and resetting the PC. And I told you have the Q connector in the accessories, which you can use to not directly connect the cables from the tower to your mainboard, but connect it to this Q connector, and then you can put the Q connector here, which makes installation of these pins much easier compared to when you have to put everything a cable directly into the mainboard. Furthermore, we have several other headers on the bottom, but yeah, if you're interested in this, check out the menu of the mainboard. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, write them down in the comment section, and yeah, drop a like, subscribe to the channel, turn notifications on if you like the video. Thank you very much for watching. See ya. Bye bye.